celebrate our 6th wedding anniversary, my wife and I completed a 2-day traverse of the 9 peaks that make up the Presidential Mountain Range in New Hampshire's White Mountains. It was 2 days filled with quality time together, beautiful vistas, well-maintained trails, and, with the exception of one, trails which always rose, but never too steeply. Our hike almost didn't happen. We scheduled a ride on the Appalachian Mountain Club's shuttle from the Highland Center in Crawford Notch to the start of our hike at the Great Gulf Trail. But we were running late and missed the bus by 5 minutes. This was partly my fault for not researching drive times better, but thankfully another AMC shuttle driver agreed to give us a ride to meet up with our bus. Once we were on board and the mistake behind us, we enjoyed the 40-minute ride to the Great Gulf Trailhead along New Hampshire's Route 16 by talking with the other 2 hikers on board. We began hiking as soon as we arrived. The hike was flat along the Great Gulf Trail, but we soon turned onto the Osgood Trail and began our ascent of Mount Madison. This was the most difficult portion of our 2 days of hiking.
Scrambling up over some boulders now, still on the Osgood Trail. Climb is pretty steep through here, obviously.
The trail climbs at a rate of approximately 1,000 feet per mile, and by the time we broke the tree line, we were glad for the cooling winds that greeted us.
There's Mount Washington, once again from the side of Madison on the Osgood Trail. We're reaching tree line here. As you can see, the foliage is kind of scraggly and short.
Madison, like most of the northern presidentials, is very rocky, and we are glad to be down the other side at the AMC Madison Springs hut, taking a breather and refilling our water. We sidetracked after this and dropped our bags at the Randolph Mountain Club's Crag Camp down the Lowe's Path Spur Trail. The RMC maintains the trails along the northern side of Mount Adams and has 2 huts available for hikers, Crag Camp and Grey Knob. These huts offer no amenities, but at the 2011 rate of $13 a night, they are a great alternative to staying at the much more expensive AMC huts. Each hut has room for 20, and slots are on a first-come, first-served basis. With our load lightened, we quickly summited Mount Adams and then followed the Gulfside Trail from Thunderstorm Junction to the summit of Mount Jefferson. We were slightly unprepared for the strong winds and cool temperatures that we found on the ridge, and were glad for the protection we found as we traveled along the Gulfside to Edmonds Cole. The climb up Jefferson was quick, and we paused to take in the views before hiking back to Crag Camp along the Randolph Path and the Grey Knob Trail. We ended our evening by enjoying front row seating to a beautiful sunset. Day 2 began with purifying water from the local mountain spring and eating a quick bite before heading out along the Randolph Path again, headed for Mount Washington. It was a little tedious traveling this path again, but once we reached Edmonds Cole, we picked up the Gulfside Trail and headed for the highest summit in the northeast. At 6,288 feet, we thought Mount Washington would be a difficult climb. We were surprised to find the Gulfside rising pleasantly to the summit. We passed the Cog Railway as we ascended and saw several of the trains on their way back to the station. We didn't stay at the Mount Washington Observatory long, as there was a large crowd meandering there. But you could easily spend several hours investigating all the different things there, such as the Mount Washington Museum. We grabbed a few photos before picking up the Crawford Path and attacking the southern presidentials. We stopped briefly at the Lake of the Clouds hut and bought some vegan chocolate cake and some coffee. The Crawford Path was the most enjoyable portion of the traverse, and my wife and I enjoyed some light trail running. It's not rocky like the trails on the northern presidentials, and the climbs to the summits are more gradual. The views of Mount Washington are spectacular, and there are many alpine plants, moss, and flowers to enjoy along the way. From the hut we completed Mount Monroe, Franklin, and Eisenhower. I particularly enjoyed the climb up Eisenhower, and the views from the summit were superb.
We're going up the side of Mount Eisenhower, and it's the first climb we've had since Washington, but it's very gradual, really nice trail, in good condition, and been able to keep a pretty good pace going up. So here we go to the summit, and according to some other hikers we've passed, there's some real good views from up here, so we'll see.
Yeah, I was going to, but you can get me in front of them.
So we're at the top of Mount Eisenhower and the views are indeed spectacular. There's the great Gulf wilderness over there, going down, and just tons of mountains out in the distance.
After the trail comes down from Eisenhower, it runs mostly below tree line. The summit of Mount Pierce is a pile of rocks in the woods, and the best views are just to the north. From Pierce, the trail descends over switchbacks to the AMC Mizpah Springs hut.
Coming out of the woods now to the Mizpah Springs
We
hut.
picked up the Webster Cliff Trail here and ascended Mount Jackson. The climb looked intense at first, but we were quickly enjoying views from the rocky summit.
Alright, here I am on the summit of Mount Jackson, the last summit in our presidential traverse. You can see Mount Washington over there in the distance with the observatory on top. So we made pretty good time over the south presidentials.
To finish this hike, we descended into the woods via the Jackson Branch and the Jackson-Webster Trail. This portion of trail is fairly steep, and we had to climb down over many large rocks. By the time we reached Route 302, where our car was parked about half a mile up the road, our knees were sore and we were tired. We jogged up the road to where we parked and dropped our gear, glad to have had such a wonderful experience together.